March 14th, 6 p.m. This is the City of Franklin Board of Public Works meeting. Do a quick roll call. Myself, Chairman Webster, Alderman Nelson.
Here.
Commissioner Woznicki.
Here.
Commissioner Porter.
Here.
Commissioner Specht.
Here.
Commissioners Witt and Skowronski are absent. Assistant City Engineer Beinlich.
Here.
And Highway Superintendent Schleider is here. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chuck.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, the next item is the reading and approval of the minutes from the January 10th meeting. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Commissioner Porter, is there a second to Commissioner Porter's motion?
Second.
Alderman Nelson. Are there any comments on the board in favor of that motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any negatives? Not hearing any negatives, that motion will pass. Okay, I'm going to ask, let's see, I believe that, sir, you are here for item 5B, is that correct? Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll allow you to speak at that time, but we're going to have the public comment period at 6:03. But this is for things that are not on the agenda. We do let people speak when their agenda item comes up.
Do I need to make it? What you're saying?
No. No. I'm trying to make that clear. Maybe I didn't explain it very well. Yeah, this is more to, bring up questions and topics for future if you have a problem, that type of thing. Not hearing from anybody, I'll declare 6:04 in the public comment. And then we'll move on. We'll go ahead and take you out of order so that since you're here, we'll take that first. Item 5B, which is the acquisition of Patricia Court and South Susanna Court. I believe that is this a homeowners association?
It is. I received a letter from Mr. Mark Ant, and if the board would allow, I think I'll let Mr. Mark Ant discuss the issue and why he thinks it's a good idea, and then Mr. Beinlich prepared a report in your packet discussing what the issues are and the concerns, and when all is said and done, we'll be looking to make a recommendation to Common Council, yea or nay, should the city adopt these streets. To Common Council, yea or nay, should the city adopt these streets. So I'm going to invite Mr.
You can either go up there or come up there and sit down and make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Use this microphone right here. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You need your name and address for the record, Mr. Arndt.
My name's Mark.
Address for the record, Mr. Arndt.
My name's Mark Arndt. I'm the vice president of the Villas of Franklin Condominium Association. I live at 2950 West Villa Drive in Franklin. And at a board meeting, one of our recent board meetings.
Hold the microphone up to you. We're recording. So
Sorry about that.
thank you.
I don't want to scream at people. At one of our recent board meetings, the idea was brought up to explore the possibilities of transferring the ownership of South Patricia and South Susanna courts to the city. I was chosen because I have a construction background, and here I am. So based on some of the information I received from Glenn in his office, I understand what the rules are somewhat. At the same time, basically, I'm just trying to see if there's any consideration from the city to take the roadways. I see there are some problems in the sense of how it was originally approved and designed and built. We don't have sufficient right-of-ways right now. When you overlay a 60-foot right-of-way on Patricia and Susanna, you basically have, in some cases, only 8 feet from the right-of-way to a building, which I believe it's typically 30 feet, or 25 to 30 feet are the setbacks for more. Anyways, I'm just here to begin a dialogue and see where it goes so I can report back to our community as to what the possibilities might be.
So before Mr. Tyler takes over, I would tell you that I wasn't here when this is initially approved, but it's not uncommon for developers to, if they have some sort of problem meeting our standards, like maybe setbacks from the right-of-way line might have been the issue here. The owner wasn't around. They just said, well, they'll go ahead and just make it a private road. A private road. From our construction drawings, and Tyler can mention, we think that it was built, the actual physical road, we believe, was built per standards. It's just maybe the setbacks may have been the reason as to why, but we can't verify that. Mr. Bilek.
Yeah. I guess to touch on what Glenn just said. So looking back at the plans for the phases of this condo development, it does appear that the two courts themselves were constructed to our spec, 6 inches of asphalt. Constructed to our spec, 6 inches of asphalt, our standard curb and gutter at the time. The one thing is we don't have any construction inspection reports. We wouldn't have had inspectors do anything with private roads, so that would be one.
I do have one quick question.
I believe between 2005 and 2007. So I believe Patricia Court was constructed first, starting around 2005, and then they were both finished around 2007 or so.
And I will add, this was the development where the developer got most of it done and hit 2,000 C streets did get done in the first phase.
And then you can't see them on this map, but the water and sanitary are in more or less the standard locations that we would want. Right now they're in a utility easement that essentially almost draws out a right-of-way in a sense. Easement that essentially almost draws out a right-of-way in a sense. Not quite a 60-foot, but so there is an easement there already. The storm sewer is one thing we haven't been able to fully track down how that's maintained right now. I believe in the roads themselves it's all private, but there's storm sewer easements leading up to the two courts. On Susanna Court, I believe the only thing that wouldn't specifically be to our construction standards is that there's no sidewalk cross section in the driveway apron. So typically that's one thing we would put in. And I think Patricia, they have it on all but one of the two. And then, as both Glenn and Mark touched on, I did speak with Regulo in the planning department earlier today. So he hasn't dug into the full background of this yet, but the setback for this zoning would be 25 feet from the right-of-way for a building. So there are certainly cases, and you can see them on some of the maps that were included, where it's quite a bit closer. He thinks it would just be basically the owners would request a variance for those setback reductions. So I don't know the full process to that, but I can get you Regulo's contact information if you want to go that route. And then Kevin and I drove out and took a look at the two and kind of walked around. Overall, given the age, they're in pretty good shape. Structurally, it doesn't really seem like there's any base failure issues. It's a lot of it's really the type of cracking and deterioration you'd expect to see in pavement that's getting close to 20 years old. So it looks like they've done a good job of crack sealing quite a bit. But just given the amount of cracks and the age, it still puts us probably around a 4 or 5 out of 10 on a Pacer scale rating. And for the two courts combined, if you did what we would typically do, which would be the repaving, spot curb and gutter replacement, utility adjustments and repairs as needed, it's probably going to come between 180 and 200,000 total for that type of rehab cost to bring it back up to. That's kind of all I got.
And I guess I would make sure that the homeowners association understands that we typically don't touch roads until I get to like a 3. So it would be several years out before we would, I hate to have it turned over, then everyone's screaming to get the, I hate to have it turned over, then everyone's screaming to get the roads done. So,
Oh, no.
yeah, so.
I believe we just had a reserve study done this past fall, and I believe I'm not dead sure, but I believe the timing for replacing Patricia probably be about 2030. Timing for replacing Patricia probably be about 2030 is what the projection was, and then 3 years later, Susanna.
Okay.
The other thing, just to answer your question about drainage, it appears to me, just in my involvement the last 3 years with the association, and when you look at how the drainage is laid out with the association, and when you look at how the drainage is laid out with the ponds and such, we've been responsible for keeping the quality of the ponds up so that the drainage could be maintained effectively. I don't know where it starts and stops. I know where the drainage, that we pick up some drainage right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be the one that I'm not sure about. There's that one that comes into Patricia Court, and then it ties into the storm sewer that then
Right.
outfalls into the pond. But yeah, everything with the pond would be you guys still.
Right, and everything coming from as far east on Villa, all such along the roads, they all drain into our ponds when you follow a drainage plan. So I'm assuming that it's been our responsibility since day one.
Mr. Porter.
I'm curious, who currently takes care of snow removal?
Sure. Microphone.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll repeat my question as far as who takes care of snow removal for these. So it's currently your association?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And from what I've heard, talking to people that have been there some time, there was a discussion, maybe the nature of the narrowness of the roadways, the trees, and the way the islands are built in the circles. The city didn't want to deal with it, so we've been doing it ourselves.
Kevin, I was going to ask that question because I was going to notice that. Kevin, I was going to ask that question because I was going to notice that these roads are narrower, and that looks to be a very tight radius on the turnaround. So, what would be your department's? What would be your department's? What type of issues would this cause? Would this be a smaller vehicle that you'd have to bring out here, or can you do it with a regular truck? I don't know if you could do this with a regular truck going out there.
No,
With a regular truck going out there.
we would treat it like any other street.
You
Same
could do
truck. Yep. Whoever has the road Villa would just catch those two also.
Okay,
Would just be additional time.
all right. The second question is looking at, I have to apologize. I was not out and looked, I have to apologize. I was not out and looked at this site, so I'm kind of running free and dry. My question is if you look at the circle and where the driveways are, where the mailboxes are, etc. I don't know where the mailboxes are. However, locations to put snow when you do plow.
There's never enough spots. That's the truth.
I understand that. I just need to ask the question.
Yeah, I mean, we have the island there, we would utilize that, but between, you're right, the mailboxes, I'm sure, and hydrants and tree.
Mary, but aren't there like a gang box, mailboxes somewhere down here?
Yeah, yeah, I think they're all group mailboxes.
So you actually wouldn't have any mailboxes at all in the cul-de-sac? Is that correct?
I think they're right just south of the.
So you think you have a gang of boxes at the end of the road?
Is that what this is right
No,
here?
I think the gang are maybe 4 at best. I have locations, marked those. We are proceeding to budget and bid to replace those because they're in very bad shape. You know, they're basically 4x4s connected top and sides,
Sure.
and they're starting to lean over. Up near my property, starting to lean over. Up near my property, which is on the east end, they installed in the last phase a 16-unit gang mailbox. And that's what I'm proposing that we do to consolidate the locations. Owners aren't real pleased with that idea, but it's going to save a lot of headaches, and especially now if you
I'm going to go kind of out on a limb here for Alderman Nelson. In that. I'm getting nervous. Yes. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, this is one of those scenarios where I don't know if we can do our due diligence in one meeting, sitting here and talk. So that means this would come up under a new administration, whoever gets elected, and the new aldermanic group, whoever is elected for those scenarios. What is your group, whoever is elected for those scenarios? What is your opinion on, I mean, are you in agreement with me that this would not be a one meeting shot?
Come on now, good. So, Mr. Arndt, welcome. I saw you last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Mr. Arndt, welcome. I saw you last Wednesday.
Yes, you did. I apologize for
No,
that.
I'm messing with you.
Overreacted.
Mr. Chairman, I agree that given the dynamic and the makeup of what moving forward is going to entail with 3 new alders and potentially a new mayor, I think just so everything can kind of get flushed out a little bit, literally.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Now, the questions, we haven't even discussed whether we think we should, but I'm just laying it out there that I think that would be intelligent for us to do, because, I mean, there is always that deal, you could, lay it on the next group of guys and gals, but I don't think that that's appropriate. Tyler, have you had a chance to run the sewer line or anything like that to take pictures to see what things look like that? Or should we?
Those are already public utilities, the water and sewer in these.
They're
already public utilities, the water and sewer in these.
So this.
They're in easements.
Storm
They're
sewer.
maintained.
So the infrastructure underneath the road is already the city's.
Wait.
Aside from the storm sewer.
Yeah, storm sewer, that's a great idea. I did not think of that, but that's probably appropriate to ask our utility department to go out and see.
I think we should do that. Ms. Speck.
Not going to help much. If the storm is going to still be maintained by the subdivision, would there be any value in it? Because what I've been hearing is that the storm sewer is still, and the detention ponds would still be maintained.
The ponds would still be maintained by the association, but we would take care of the storm sewers in the public right of way.
Are there any?
There are some pipes.
There
in
would
the
be, yes. Yeah. There'd be, I want to say, 4 to 6 inlets, storm inlets, catch basins in each, and then the pipes associated with those. So there's.
I saw some inlets look like up here.
There's 2, and then I think there's 2, maybe about halfway down. It's a pretty similar.
There's one there.
I think it's a similar configuration on Patricia too.
So what portions would you take ownership?
So we would If we were to take over and our right-of-way was to be 60 feet, there's a pipe that goes out here to the pond. We would maintain anything in the right-of-way and then the pipe to the outfall there. And then the pond itself and any pipe leaving the pond would be the condo association.
So that means that if we were to accept it, we would not only accept a right-of-way that would have to be defined, but we'd also have to write an easement for that storm
Correct.
sewer.
Yep.
So, are you finished? Okay, continue.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but why exactly are you looking for the city to take over?
I'm sorry, why?
Why?
She is
Why-
asking why you wish for the city to take over the road.
Again, in a board meeting, basically, some of the owners had requested that we explore this, and I'm here to explore. Really, if the city has any desire to assume responsibility for roads, that's basically all it is.
Glenn,
So-
do we have a set process that where we've done this before?
I would think we have, but not since I've been here. For other communities I've done this in, generally, the city would ask for some sort of donation, and the price of that would be accordingly. There's a reason why it wasn't dedicated in the beginning. For whatever reason, they want to give it to the city now. So, would you, maybe the cost of the next overlay and paving. So, would you, maybe the cost of the next overlay and paving, donate that to our city fund that we would, use that and maybe then maintain it from there on, or some other account. However the city fathers decide what the price appropriate is.
Would we ask the association to go get the CCTV work done and the easement documentation done so that wasn't a burden on the city?
Quite honestly, the CCTV work isn't a huge burden on the utility department. Just I got to be careful when I ask them to go do it. CCTV and or jet cleaning things that's needed. So
What about the survey work that would be required?
survey, I think that'd be appropriate to say if you could have a engineer or a land surveyor actually draw up a legal description to donate the right of way in the legal description for the pipe work. We just don't have the in-house resources to do that.
We've been working with Lynch Associates, and we were just having our plats, we had the plats resurveyed last year. They haven't been formally sent to the county yet because we're trying to iron out some of the problems, but we have a surveyor on, Lynch and Associates have been doing all of our engineering, so that wouldn't be a problem, I don't think.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be appropriate, and I think I heard maybe another condition may be that mailboxes get moved out to the entrance so it wouldn't be in the way for cold.
And that's really what the proposal that I'm proposing to our board is that we, as I said, put gang mailboxes near the entrances to each of those roadways and pull them out of the back part or the north part of those roads. Because right now it's difficult for plowing and all sorts of things, so.
So, if I was going to make a list of items that I think we would have to have before considering this, number one, storm sewer, evaluation in terms of what the city would acquire on city what would be the road property, for the city for the easement. I might need a little bit of help on this. But, that's my first thought. My second thought is some sort of a cost-sharing agreement based, I don't know on what, maybe proposed life of the road. I don't know how that,
We would look for engineering to come up with past practice and things like that.
yeah, I don't recall in my 30 years of being on this board, this scenario ever really occurring. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. You know, I have a faulty memory sometimes. So those two, some idea of that before we can even move forward, and maybe even a request to the city attorney about what would be required for us to do this. I don't want to step on toes, and so I think that we need some guidance as to how we proceed. Does that make sense?
I think I owe Mr. Bennett another lunch. I try to meet him 2 or 3 times a year, and so maybe this might be a good time to schedule that lunch and pick his brain on this issue.
Okay, because I think that we need some guidance before we can go forward. Because this is out of left field to me, and I've been on the board for, like I said, 30 plus years, and I head around it, my hands around it, and I'm not close. Okay, so I think that those items that I just mentioned, Glenn, did you write them down or?
So I have CCTV, the storm sewer evaluation. We discussed the storm sewer evaluation. We discussed making sure that we get the easements, not only the right-of-way, but for the storm to the outlet, the pond. We talked about moving the mailboxes to the entrance. Question mark on cost, and then past practice. Question mark on cost, and then past practice.
Yeah, and then some advice from the city attorney as to how we would proceed with this. I don't want to step on any toes and do something stupid. That's kind of one thing I'm after. So I think unless somebody else has some other questions, I would like to table this until we get some of those answers. Mr. Porter.
Yeah, and one thing that jumps out to me is you had talked about variance, that, they're going to have to ask for a variance and have that done on a non-precedent setting basis. So some other organization doesn't come in and say, oh, well, you did it here, how come we can't do it?
So this is what the Plan Commission would refer to as legal nonconforming. So we just have to understand that here. But for example, if someone were to want to expand the building, then obviously that they would already be in violation. And now I say the violation loosely because it's legal nonconforming, but they couldn't expand any more towards the roadway. So I don't see that as an issue, but the owners would need to understand. Tell you what, we'll also include a discussion with our planning department on legal nonconforming and what that might mean to the residents in the future.
I think that's a good idea.
Excuse me, just
Yes, go ahead.
Comment on what Glenn said. The physical perimeters of all of those buildings, because of the condominium association, no one can increase the perimeters. So that you can kind of remove that as an idea. You can't put a 4-car garage. If you have a 3-car or 2-car, whatever you have is what you own right now, and that's the end of it. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I got one more quick question, and that is, I also noticed that most of these driveways have concrete aprons, and then they go to blacktop. And so I'm thinking future, Glenn, and the possibility of redoing these roads. We would, I assume, do a typical work where we would redo the roadway and the curb and gutter as necessary, and not touch and we wouldn't touch the concrete on the aprons, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
We typically wouldn't touch that in a paving project.
Only
exactly. That's what I'm bringing
Only
up.
if we had to do the curb and gutter right in front of it, and we had to,
Yeah.
for some reason, take out the.
And there are no underneath driveways in this neighborhood? There's no culverts underneath any of the driveways?
no,
I'm
because-
just making sure.
Because it's the storm sewer.
Storm sewer, I'm just double checking. Ms. Beck, did you have more? Okay. Mr. Nelson, did you have more? Mr. Wozniak?
Questioning's already been questioned and answered.
Okay, so my request would be for a motion to table this at least until the April meeting so that we can get some of these questions answered, because I think we kind of have to get our hands around it. I think we kind of have to get our hands around it.
Okay.
Mr. Morrell?
Could I suggest that you table to my choice when it comes back? So
Absolutely, yeah, because it's
so-
going to take time.
Yep.
And Mr. Arndt, I apologize for memory. I still have some. Your description of why this wants to be done gives me the impression that if this took a year or whatever for the process to complete, that's not an issue. This isn't something that in a month or two.
No, it's not time sensitive at all.
Okay,
It
just double
trying to
checking.
understand what this process is, and now that I understand that this is precedent setting, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a little time, and even before we go and talk to the political people, we got to get our head. Before we go and talk to the political people, we got to get our heads around it first.
Oh, understood.
I will tell you there's a very extensive project to give up a right-of-way, but I think for adopting it, it's more or less we just take on. So I need to verify with the city attorney.
Yeah, and that's why I brought that up. I think that's important.
I need to verify with the city attorney.
Yeah, and that's why I brought that up. I think that's important. So, would somebody like to make a motion? Ms. Specht, to table until engineering is ready to bring the subject back, and engineer will contact you
Right.
as appropriate. Is
Could
there
you
a
make that motion louder?
And significant.
And it's seconded by Commissioner Woznicki. Okay. To table until, and to answer the questions that we've brought up tonight, and to your convenience,
Yep. At my call, yeah.
okay? All of those in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Any negatives? Not hearing any negatives, we'll let that pass, and I appreciate you coming forward.
So I will wait then for some communication from the engineering.
From engineering
Sure.
department, we'll communicate with.
Appreciate it.
Well, you're here, I'm gonna do that. I'm the chairman, I can do that.
But by the way, if you look at what was in the packet, there are red lines that denote storm sewers, green lines sanitary sewers, and blue lines water mains.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's just, like I said, there's a lot of information there, and I want to get that under, you need to get a hold of that one. Okay, we're gonna go to item 5A, which is authorization to replace fuel island pump number 1, the high volume pump. Who has this one?
Yeah, I'll
Kevin?
take that. We're asking, actually, last year, we replaced our two low-volume dispensers, one unleaded, actually two unleaded and one diesel. And now we'd like to replace our one high-volume pump in the year in the 70s. And it's just served its life and has too many issues. So we want to finish this project. And we have the money in the budget, in the capital budget. And we had $20,000 in the budget. We came in at $18,783. $18,783.
Okay. That's the Badger Oil Company thing?
Yes.
My biggest first question, I apologize. Hit the button. My biggest first question, I apologize. Hit the button, okay? My biggest first question on something like this is DNR, EPA, all of the stuff we're dealing with a fuel scenario, and does that?
By the rules, believe me. We are
Well,
inspected
obviously we
regularly.
play by
and
the rules, but.
That's why we're hiring Badger. They've done all our work in the previous years, and they know our equipment, and they know what we need.
Okay, so,
Yes.
so all of, any permits and all of that stuff, that would be on them to obtain that?
But anything are required, we're not touching our tanks, you know, where their tanks are still there.
Yeah, it's just
They're
the,
not-
the
yeah.
valve or
Correct.
yeah, the valve, actually the pump.
The dispenser, yeah.
The
The actual
dispenser
part, you see where the handles are and that. They're
We
not
were-
replacing any piping or nothing like that.
Okay,
They're
We
not
were-
replacing any piping or nothing like that.
okay. Let me ask you a question. Glenn and I were chatting just briefly, and so when you go to a dispenser of a fuel, okay, and you pull the switch, are you opening a valve or are you turning on a pump? Opening a valve or are you turning on a pump?
You're kind of doing both, because the pump really normally will take care of several different ones. So you're actually opening a valve, but you could be starting the pump too at the same time.
Okay, I'm just curious because I've always had that question, and so
So-
I can ask
That's why
it.
if you're at a fueling station and you notice somebody else start the nozzle and it kind of slows down, it's because you're all working off that same pump. And
Okay, I appreciate that. I
And
just,
our pump, when you flip the lever, then you hear the pump kicks
Yeah.
on, so.
Yes.
okay. No, and you said it, and it got by me. We have how much in the budget for this item?
In the budget for 2023 was 20,000.
Was 20,000. So, what
2023 was 20,000.
was 20,000. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the following comment. As long as I would be look for a motion to contract Badger Oil Equipment Company to supply labor and pump per the what's this, a contract?
The quote?
Is it per
Quote.
for the quote, or per the quote, $18,783 to replace the Fuel Island Pump number 1, which is the high volume diesel pump.
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I was wondering where you were going with that, but yes, I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I got it out. I made that motion. That is seconded by Commissioner Woznicki. And then we'll just go to any other questions. Then all of those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any negatives? Then that motion will pass unanimously.
Thank you.
Unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. And then we're down to, okay, this is item 5C. Okay, this is item 5C, which is the purchase of, let me read it. Purchase of a Ford 350 4x4 Super Cab pickup truck from Hiller Ford Automotive Group for $60,605.16. Who's going to have this one?
I'll do this.
Okay, Glenn.
This is for the utilities department, so half would be purchased by the water, half would be purchased by the sanitary sewer department. I was asked earlier today why we weren't using the state bid for this like we do. And I noted that, you know, that we're paying the same price. They came down and matched and actually beating it by $1. And then as I was sitting here thinking about it, I guess I'd like to tell you a story. Last year, the engineering vehicle was authorized, and we actually got a state bid for a Ford something, and we actually got a state bid for a Ford something, and Ford just decided to cancel all their sales to the state bid, so we actually had to up it by another $2,000 or something like that to get the Chevy equivalent. So in this case, it's so. That's probably a good reason as to why we're not going state bid on this one, but they are matching the state bid price, which is has historically always been by far and away the cheapest way for us to get vehicles. So the fact that they were able to come down to that is great. And again, so it's, you notice at the end, the utility department wrote this for me, but authorization for sewer utility staff, I would say recommend to common council that utility staff solicit the above vehicle for purchase in the 23 capital vehicle fund.
Okay. I have one
Capital vehicle fund.
Okay. I have one kind of a question I'm a little confused about. And that is, okay, so there's a $30,500 from the sewer utility. Where's from the sewer utility? Where does the balance come from?
The water utility.
The water utility, thank you. I was making sure I understood where the things are coming from. So, okay, so therefore, what you're looking for is a motion, council, recommend to council?
Common council
Recommend to council to,
for the sewer utility staff to solicit above mentioned vehicle for
Okay.
purchase in the 23 sewer capital vehicle fund.
okay, and should I put in the dollar amount that you have listed here at,
You can. That's fine.
for $60,605.16? Okay? Would someone like to make that motion? Mr. Witt? I was making sure you were listening to me.
That's a good test, sir.
Would,
That's a good test, sir.
would there someone like to second that motion? Ms. Specht raised her hand. We'll give you that one. All of those in favor? All of those in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Any negatives? Not hearing any negatives, that motion will pass. Okay, so now we'll move on. Well, item 6 has been kind of redone a little bit. It's now be April 11, okay? And then, is there other things, Glenn, that might be coming up that we should be aware of?
I will tell you, it's the meeting of stop signs. We have one location, 2 additional stop signs. We have one location where stop signs are in one direction. Someone's requesting that we put it in another direction. And we have another location where there are stop signs that at least one resident would like to have removed, and we surveyed the entire neighborhood, so we'll have that for you at the next meeting. So surveyed the entire neighborhood, so we'll have that for you at the next meeting. So stop signs are probably the theme of the next meeting. And obviously, if we can get it ready, we'll bring this Susanna issue back to you.
Okay. All righty, then we'll, Mr.
I was going to speak last. Is there anything else for future?
Nope.
Okay.
Uh,
Just one thing to add, that this is my last Board of Public Works meeting, and I really enjoyed being a part of this group, and I've learned a lot, from the group, and I commend the passion of the members that are on this the team, and you, sir, Mr. Chair, over 30 years, thank you. I mean, that's not to be taken lightly. I mean, it isn't. Thank you for your service. And it isn't. Thank you for your service. And I wish everybody the best, win, lose, or draw. I really enjoyed myself with this board, as I told I was going to by former Alderman and current County Supervisor Steve Taylor. Said that you're going to love it, you're going to enjoy it, and it's a great group to work with, and it really was. So you're going to love it, you're going to enjoy it, and it's a great group to work with, and it really was. So I want to thank all of you for that.
Well, thank you, Alderman Nelson. We appreciate that, and I think we'll leave it at that because I don't think saying anything else would be appropriate at this point in time. Commissioner Porter, is there a second? Commissioner Woznicki? All of those in